Good morning and welcome to Color Conversations Presents The Future of Black Wealth, Volume 2, Manifest the Future Entrepreneur Edition. We are so excited to have you here today. My name is Evan Cutts. I am the content editor for Color Magazine and have the honor of being the MC for you today during our webinar event. As you can see on our screen, Color Magazine is on social media. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Please follow us for updates for more exciting events like this one. And before we get into the rest of our presentation today, of course, we need to go over some housekeeping rules. So we'd like to ask you to please be present, try to avoid any distractions throughout the webinar. Do know that this webinar will be recorded and shared on our YouTube channel after the event. So if you want to relive all the excitement, take some extra notes, you will be able to do so. Lastly, we like to ask that you hold all questions until the Q&A portion at the end of the event. Thank you very much. Before we begin our excellent panel, I would like to bring to the virtual stage our opening remarks speaker, Camilla Avant, the Director of Diversity Programs at Color Magazine. She is our fearless leader, and with her help, we are able to host these incredible events for you today. Camilla, please. Welcome to the stage.
Good morning and welcome. Well, thank you, Evan, for the introduction. As he mentioned, I lead Color as its Director of Diversity Programs, and I'm so excited to welcome you to our show today. Today is our second installment of Color's Future of Black Wealth series, and Color is continuing its work to discuss issues that impact you with engaging thought leadership content, programming highlighting diverse leaders, and empowering Black professionals with events targeting personal and career development. We are truly in historic times, and many communities of color and entrepreneurs and individuals are reeling from the impact of COVID and racial inequities. Today, this powerful panel of leaders, visionaries, entrepreneurs, we want to call them so many things, they're just really power players, and they're really ready to share with you how they manifested their vision and moved their dreams into reality. So I'm ready to hear their journey and how they've weathered all these storms and to just, push forward to get to where they are today. And I hope you're ready too. So I'll pass it back to Evan, who's going to proceed with our introductions.
Thank you so much, Camilla, for those empowering words. We are very, very excited to get into our panel discussion. So first, I would like to introduce our panel moderator. We have Nathalie Gauthier, Assistant Vice President, SSGM of Global Markets Technology in the Project Management Office of State Street Corporation. Ms. Gauthier is an active inclusion leader and also volunteers in the community. Nathalie is currently serving as the co-chair for the Black Professionals Group at State Street Corporation. She has also held senior leadership roles for the Professional Women's Network at State Street as well. She's also in her community has served as a board member of the Communities for Haitian Entrepreneurs and Startups, also known as CHESS. Thank you so much for agreeing to be our panel moderator today, Ms. Gauthier. We're so thrilled to have you. On to our incredible panel speakers. First up, we have Janice McLean DeLoatch, TV host, radio personality, entrepreneur, author, and advocate for fairness in all industries, who has always had to think on her feet. Known for her TV show, Entrepreneur's Edge TV, and now her weekly radio show, It's Janice, Minority Women Entrepreneurs on WOLB 1010 Talk Radio. Janice has been a passionate advocate for helping people understand that it is okay to be an entrepreneur and venture out to create your own businesses, all while controlling risk. Next up, we have the honor of presenting with us panel speaker Rushion McDonald, writer, producer, and branding architect. He is also a 3-time NAACP Image Award winner, as well as a 2-time Emmy Award-winning executive producer. He also hosts the very popular podcast, Money Making Conversations. So if you want to learn how you can make your money work for you after this event, definitely check out Rushion McDonald's podcast, Money Making Conversations. And lastly, on our panel will be KD Hall, who will be coming in from the West Coast a little bit later in our panel discussion today. She is the epitome of a networking and corporate problem-solving genius. Her production and problem-solving skills are just a few of the things that set her apart. With years of experience in higher education, communication, management, strategic professional planning, and training, Katie Hall is equipped to handle copious number of tasks with integrity and poise. She is a visionary, a creator, and a leader in the workforce development for women, for women, minorities, and other initiatives. She is also the founder of Katie Hall Communications, as well as Katie Hall Foundation. We're going to be so thrilled to have her when she joins us in a little bit. Now, I will turn it over to Ms. Gauthier to lead today's discussion. Thank you all so much.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for some folks, depending upon where you're joining us. I'm so excited for today, and with those amazing resumes, I wanted to just kick off with the session with asking, tell us something about yourselves that's not on your resume that you really wanted to share with the audience today. So Janice, why don't we start with you?
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So for the past 15 to 25 years, I have devoted myself to helping women entrepreneurs find resources and be successful in launching their own businesses or expanding their own businesses. And a lot of this has come out of my own experience of being a Black woman entrepreneur. And, when I say 15 to 25 plus years, well, I mean, I started when I was 10, just so everybody's clear about that, okay? And so I have created one of my newest ventures is the Black Shopping Network, networks.com, which is a platform that will, for entrepreneurs who have not had access to develop or grow their businesses or scale them, this is that opportunity for Black and brown people to do so, but that is inclusive of everybody in our community and in our world. So I just want to be clear about that. And then the other thing that I'm working on is the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame, because what a lot of people don't know is initially I started out as a songwriter. And unfortunately, the music industry has not always been very kind to women and minority songwriters. And so I'm hoping to fix that. So in a nutshell, I have been devoted to empowering and supporting women behind the scenes, even when, people didn't know, so.
Thank you for that. Kick off. See, even with the resume that's presented, so many things are cooking behind the scenes, and we appreciate you sharing. So, Rushion, welcome to the panel.
Thank you. I'm down in Atlanta, Georgia here. COVID capital down here in Atlanta, Georgia. Just let you know. Just happy to be talking to anybody.
Unfortunately, there's a few COVID capitals.
Absolutely. Well, I'm on top of it right now. But I guess when I hear the question of saying what's not on my resume is that despite all my success, I didn't believe in myself in my 40s is when I really sat down and got a clear understanding that everything I had done in my life was based on my talents and my hard work. Because I was living my life through cliches, right place at the right time, just being lucky, is a blessing. And all those terms tend to surround a lot of people's success stories and can hold them back. And the reality is that you can only be successful based on how hard you work and how hard you plan and how hard you network. Right place at the right time, maybe a coincidence, but don't apply that to being why you're successful. And so as in my 40s, I took a realization for myself that I'm successful because of the fact that I have talents. I'm willing to work hard for it, and I plan, and I outwork people who are competing for the same opportunity that I am. And it wasn't until my 40s. So I always tell people, if you're trying to find your dreams, look back into your teens, look back into your early 20s, when you really, really were open to so many fresh ideas, when you really wanted to do something before you got married, before you took a job you didn't want, or before you joined the military, before you got shifted from that natural idea. The life that you're living right now, the job that you're working right now is a job resume. That does not mean that that's the job that you wanted to do in your 20s. And that's what I live. I live the life that I wanted to. I want to. And I didn't realize that until I was in my 40s, that everything that I was doing, I learned in college, I did in college. And a realization is that it was ordained in the sense to do what I am doing today, but I didn't accept that until I was in my 40s. And so I drive people to look back and admit that this gift, that you are, this passion, of this desire to be successful is in all of us, but we tend to cliche it to death and don't accept the responsibility that you can be successful and admit it.
Thank you for that, Rushion. That's a perfect reminder that it's timeless, right? To always offer your talent and ideas. You can do that at any point in your career. So thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with, you know, some of the things that I'm sure is in the minds of our attendees today. Like you just said, we've got ideas. We've thought of different things, whether, you know, whatever decade. Rushion, I want to kick it back to you about what was the key driving force for you to really just jump out and trust and get into the entrepreneurial space?
First of all, I was a bad entrepreneur. You know, I was classic. I didn't have a budget. I just had a great idea. And I had a gift. I opened my first comedy club in 1992. I was a very talented comedian, and I charged people $10 to come see me, and I was selling out. And then the tax man showed up and say, "Hey, I'm charging you for 8% on every ticket you sold." And I go, "Why are you doing that? I didn't know that." And so I'm just telling the average person jumps out there like me, and they just want to make money, but they don't understand that other people want that same amount of money that you're making, because guess what? They're allowing you. You know, the world allows you to make money. We're not, and a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand. They think that they get mad when they get taxed because they employ people. They get taxed on unemployment. Well, that's the allowance. That's the way you do business. And so early on, I was a horrible business person. And so the hard part of the hard part of being a good business person is the easy part, accepting the responsibility that you have to plan, and you have to realize that $1 is not going to be 100% yours. You have to divvy it up. And so that realization is that when I talk to anybody, and I have to admit my flaws. And so I like to always tell people that you're looking at a walking, talking mistake. And that, because I'm willing to overcome my mistakes, allows me to be successful. And the major problem that people have, and the reason they fail, they don't want to, they're shameful. They don't want to act like they're making mistakes. They don't want to admit they're making mistakes. And the failure and the ultimate embarrassment is when you fail. If you would just ask for help, if you would have networked, if you would have shared responsibilities, that's what I, as an entrepreneur, is how I direct people. And that's why I'm willing to tell you that I might make a mistake tomorrow. I may make a mistake on this interview, and I'm cool with it. I don't allow mistakes to stop me, because that's part of life. This part of life is that I tell people, who you see and who you talking to is Rushion McDonald. Because if I fall, Rushion McDonald knows how to get himself up. But if I fall as somebody else or a fake person, then I will struggle to find a direction on how I can be successful again. I know exactly how I can be successful again as an entrepreneur, and more important, as a person.
Thank you for that. Isn't that true to one of the classic phrases, you know, successful people haven't failed, are not folks that haven't failed. They've failed more and overcome more. So Janice, we're going to throw that back to you as well. What were some of the key driving forces for you to get into the entrepreneurial space?
So my parents really were my driving forces. And that my father had 3 jobs, and my mother loved to cook. And so we had a family restaurant. It was called McLean's Carryout. And my father just was really adamant about making sure that, you know, if you're going to always whine about something, you know, find a solution. Because my mother used to always complain about the food in the area was just horrible and she didn't like eating it. And he was like, well, why don't you start cooking some food and, you know, give people a choice? And she did. And so I watched my grandmother and all of my aunts and my nieces and myself. We worked at the restaurant, and my niece and our job was to fill the potato chip machine and the soda machines. Well, it was racks back then, potato chip racks and soda machines. And so we usually ate about 50% more of than we put up on the Waxer and the sheet. But, you know, and that was, you know, and we learned lessons about money, right, Rushion? My father
Absolutely.
said, stop eating all the profit. We can't afford you guys. We're gonna have to fire you. So my family really was my inspiration, and my father was a driving force in that, you know, I just didn't think he liked women or females, but he would always say, stop whining. You girls are always whining, you know, find a solution, fix it. And so that's kind of been what drives me to this day.
Thank you for that. You know, it's interesting how that's one of the key things that we ask, you know, beginning entrepreneurs as well as seasoned, to find the problem and fix it, right? That should hopefully drive a few folks that are.
But you know something, I like to comment on that. And the number one problem with people who fail in business at a high rate is pride. It's pride. You know, it's pride that they didn't know what they was getting into. It was pride that they didn't understand how to put together a budget. It was pride that they didn't go down to the SBA and get some additional information. It was a pride that meant that they started their business with bad credit. It was pride that they thought that as soon as they opened up the doors, that the customers were going to run right in. It was a pride that not acknowledging they didn't have 6 months of bank, just in case you didn't make money for 6 months, you can still stay open. Pride is really a key component to young businesses or any business. You can see major corporations fail because of pride, not acknowledging, not pivoting because of the fact the industry has changed. You know, you still out there trying to take photos with a Kodak camera, and then people can use it with their phone. You know, you didn't see that coming? You didn't see that coming? And so, and things like that. You didn't see FedEx coming? You didn't see that? Okay. You know, you see that people can not just FedEx stuff, people can email stuff. All these different things is what we have to realize, that pride can intercede and make us fail so badly if we don't recognize that that is can be a very failing component to the next step of success.
Well, you bring up a great point. So I actually want to throw it back to you. What are some of the things that you did to overcome? As you alluded to earlier, you're walking mistakes, right? But you got over your pride. What are some of the tips that you can share to help get past?
Well, you know,
and push past that.
You know, if anybody knows my career, we was talking about this offline. I can bring that example right up here. You know, I managed Steve Harvey, who now hosts Family Feud, for 2000 to 2016. I met Steve Harvey. He was my opening act as a stand-up comedian. That's how we met. And over the years, and so he offered, and I was very successful. I did Def Comedy Jam, BET. You can just Google me. You'll see a lot of comedy moments. I was a very funny dude, by the way. But a lot of people don't remember that because all they know if they Google me now, they see me associated with corporate deals and books and movies. And I'm proud of all those moments. But, you know, my whole thing is that pride, if I wanted to remain a very funny guy and compete against a very talented guy like Steve Harvey, my pride said, look, there's an opportunity to build a brand with an incredible talent here. But guess what? I have to stop my stand-up comedy career. I can't compete and be a competitor to somebody who I know is far more talented than me, because that's what he wanted to do. My gifts was management. I love producing things. I love being able to walk in the room and negotiate things. So my pride was admitting that if I remained a stand-up comic, I had to backtrack. I had to step down and allow Steve Harvey to shine 100%. And that's all I did. Even when we would do tours, he would ask me to go on stage to introduce him. I didn't even do any comedy material. I just walked out there, introduced him with a very fantastic introduction, and walked off stage. He had a standing ovation. So pride can intercede in opportunity. My opportunity, if I would allow my pride to step in and go, look, I'm gonna show everybody I'm funny. I did Def Comedy Jam, I did BET's Comedy, I'm a funny guy. Hey, would have hurt my checks. I wouldn't even be on this call right now if I would have let pride step in. And so that's an example, a very global example of how I stepped back as a comedian to allow Steve Harvey to grow and put my 100% focus on building him as the greatest stand-up comic in that period where I managed him.
Thank you. So I actually want to shift a little bit. I mean, you both have so many things on your resume that are so utterly impressive, but how did you know, Janice, to you, how did you know which idea to step out on, and then when to incorporate all these other ideas to build your businesses?
Wow, Nathalie. Let me see, how long is this show? Okay. So,
Keep it brief. We've got more questions.
I see Janine Fondon out there, and I just want to say hi to Janine Fondon because she's laughing because we know I go back to the pantyhose vending machine, and Rushion, you said something super a few minutes ago. We have to be unafraid to support other people. It doesn't always have to be about us. It can be about other people, and that's really important for people to know. And I mean, there are some people on this call right now, if it weren't for them and their support and understanding what I wanted to do and vice versa, I helped them too, Janine and Camila, thank you. I mean, so it comes with that territory as well. But I started out doing pantyhose vending machine. And at the time, it was a great idea. Women were actually still wearing hosiery, and then, my pride got in the way, and I was like, I was working, I had a really good job. I won't go into it, but I was working for a corporate company, and, it was good for me at the day back then. And so I was putting all of my money into these machines because I didn't want to go to a bank, and then the ones that I went to wouldn't give me the funding, and I just got really fed up with that whole thing. And so I said, I'm going to fix this. And so, I started doing, bootstrapping it myself. That's what they call it. But really, I was taking my whole paycheck and not paying my bills at home so that I could invest in my business, And so I started with that. But, my vision changes a lot. And as an entrepreneur, most of us tend to be serial creators and innovators and dreamers. And our vision is always a continuous, ever-changing, evolving litmus test. Mine has been. And so when you think about people like, you always hear, oh, well, you're doing too many things. Oh, you've got too many ideas. Oh, you're all over the place. You can't do all of them. Well, that's true. You can't do all of them at one time. But, when you think about Thomas Edison, he had over 1,000 patents, and, I guess they were all his. And you think about Elon Musk, solar panels and solar batteries, and Tesla and SpaceX and PayPal. And now he's doing something called the Boring Company because he doesn't like sitting in traffic. And, even when you think about Rushion, he's been a comedian and he's been a writer, he's a brand architect, and he's a baker, right? So he's going to send us some food, just so you guys all know. He agreed to send the panel and the people behind. And, so we got to support that. So, you do have entrepreneurs, our visions are always changing. And I guess I just want to be the best me that I could be with that vision that I'm on at that moment. And when I did the pantyhose vending machines, I gave it my all. When I did Entrepreneurs Edge TV, I gave it my all. And now I'm doing the blackshoppingnetworks.com. There's my promo spot, the blackshoppingnetworks.com. And the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I really, right now, those two are my babies. And I really wholeheartedly am into those because I am just tired of, women and Black and brown people being at a disparity. And again, it was important for me to fix it in my own way. So there's that.
So thank you for keeping that.
A lot to say there, Janice. You might can write music, but you can talk.
Okay. And I do want to check with you, Camila. I know Katie is going to be joining us as soon as she's able. So you want to tap and, let me know when she does join. So you're both, again, into so many different areas
right.
in your spaces, right? So, and all of them are fairly successful. So what was that success formula that you were bringing to, whether it was kicking off with the pantyhose vending machines, or and Rushion, you went from comedy to also a chef and baking, and everything in between has really hit a great mark too. So what is that success formula that you?
Well, I can start a little bit on this. First of all, I know when to jump off a bad idea. Okay. I know how to jump off that. I know how to do it. I know when it's looking stupid. Okay. And stop letting people pat you on the back who aren't contributing with funds. All right. Don't let people keep telling you it's a good idea and they're not contributing to the revenue of keeping it a good idea. So it's important that, I've been in business with people with no money. I've been in business with people who thought they had money. And I've been in business with people who shouldn't have been in business with me. Just gonna say that because I already told you guys, at times I didn't know what I was doing. I had bright ideas, but I had no idea how to run a business. So first of all, so we talk about, when you get on these conference calls, you really want to have some takeaway, some walk away, because I hate people who talk about motivating stuff and they're broke. I hate motivating people who are broke. I hate motivating people to write financial books and they have no money in the bank. I hate those type of people. So my whole thing in doing this would let you know, first of all, that I am a flawed man, okay? And once you admit that, that means you have to do your homework. And so I wake up every day with a clear understanding that I have to gain knowledge, more knowledge than I had the previous day. That means I have to accept that other people in the room may be smarter than me. If they are smarter than me, then there has to be some type of competition to compete with their knowledge so I can gain the knowledge, so I can be equally to the challenge. And a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people want to walk through life, and that's why you see people in the business, they look the same, they look older than what they should be. Because I always look at people all the time, I go, I hope I don't look like that person, and we're supposed to be the same age. Because my goal is to live a refreshing life, to enjoy myself. And I do not allow age to stop me from accomplishing my goals. That's another problem people have. I don't understand. If I'm all over the place, please stop me, because I really want to tell everybody, in my mind, I feel I'm focused. But I'm letting you guys know, do not let age stop you. Do not let pride stop you. Do not let people pat you on the back with a bad idea who are not contributing to the bad idea financially. So you're stuck with the bad idea when it's done, and guess what they're going to tell you? I told you so. I didn't think it was a good idea in the first place. So you have to surround yourself with what? People who can contribute to your success plan. That means that these people have to be willing to tell you, pull your coattail and tell you, you know something? That idea is dumb. I wouldn't get started with it. Now, if you have people around you who are intimidated by you, or say that magic word that you make them nervous, or say that magic word saying that, you're going to do it anyway, why should I say anything? Get those people out your life. If you're an entrepreneur, kick those people to the curb. You have to kick people to the curb that don't have your best interests. Rushion McDonald knows it all. I'm telling you right now, I walk in the room, I am the most confident person in the world. That's dangerous, because I gotta have people who say, Rushion, you don't know everything. Then I become a little humble, because I want to know what they know about me. What do they know about me? They said I don't know everything. So that means that you have to surround yourself as an entrepreneur to be successful. And in order to be successful, you have to have networking, partnerships, relationships that can allow you to grow. And those are the gems I want to drop on everybody, because we can get on these calls and you can hear about my life. You can hear about all the great things. You can Google me. You don't have to listen to me. Just Google me. A lot of great pages going to pop up. But what I'm trying to tell you on this call is that I'm stupid if I didn't acknowledge the fact that people got me here because I listened. I didn't let pride get in the way, and I didn't let people egg me on with hype. I don't need a hype man when I'm spending my money. That's
it. Thank you, Rushion. No, there's no lack of passion there. I appreciate that. Sounds like surround yourself.
I could have done this, I could have done this.
Surround yourself with people who fill your cup and help to fill your wallet, right?
People all the time tell you, because I'm in the entertainment business, okay? So I get hyped all the time. Oh man, you good. Oh man, that show was outstanding. Hey man, I got an idea, can make a blockbuster idea right here. Okay, who wrote the script? Or what you committed? Or who? Because people always come up with ideas, and in the pandemic, the ideas are even more crazy, because you sitting in a home, you lock down, and so bad ideas come to you even faster now, because you don't have nothing to do but read bad ideas. So you have to really, really focus on the opportunity and whether it's real or not, or is it viable, or more people believing in it just you and this person who's pitching the idea. And that's what it really all amounts to in these things. When I'm talking about an opportunity to be successful, and I'm talking about opportunity to give you advice, because that's why we have these calls here. Not to tell how great I am or how good I look in this suit, because I know I look good in this suit. I put it on today. But more importantly, what I did was to be able to come on this call to let you guys know that in order for me to win, in order for you to win, you have to work hard, and you have to surround yourself with people who can check you, who can support you, both financially sometimes and emotionally, but more importantly, when you fall, because you will fall, I'm sorry, you will stumble. They have to be there to lend you a hand and not a slap upside the head.
Yeah, and to that point, Janice, I want to throw it back to you. So as you said, every entrepreneur has fallen, will fall. So can you share with us an example of, one of those falls, if you will, one of those great disappointments, and how, and then on the flip side, a great satisfaction? How did you overcome it, or an experience that you can share with that?
So I don't know that I really have been disappointed with any of the ideas. I have been disappointed sometimes with the way they've turned out. But I guess and when you look at the glass half full, and as an entrepreneur, I see it as what satisfies me about it is that I learned from that experience. And even when I failed, because the pantyhose vending machines, they did fail. But I learned that, one, you need to update your business plan frequently. And you need to understand what your economic model is and how your business should make money. And if it's not making money, why not? And I've been broke from those businesses, but and again, I will agree with Rushion. I'm learning to do the strategy different, so that hopefully with these two projects that I'm working on now, it is not a repeat of what the history has been for me with those businesses. But I won't say that I was disappointed with any of those ideas. I absolutely loved all of them when I started them, and even throughout the process. Sometimes people tend to get tired of their own ideas because it's a lot of work. But I don't know, I really did like them. And so the disappointment would have been that they didn't turn out the way that I wanted, but the satisfaction would have been the learning and the experience that I gained from it.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate your candor. So let's get into some of the juicier conversation of this, and I'm sure this is something on the top of everybody's mind. It's about the financing. That's always been a challenge for Black entrepreneurs, especially in this country. So, if you can share some details about how did you start that venture? How did you raise capital? What are some of the tips that you can share with folks today?
This is Rushion speaking. Well, you have two different eras you're dealing with right here. You're talking about the pandemic time when the government told you they're going to send you a check, and the check was so small you almost mailed it back to them. Or you talking about that time? Because that's what the PPP program was. That was a PPP program. Right? They sent you a check that was so small. You go, really? Okay. Did you hear my plea? Did you hear my cry? Did you realize I was in pain? Did you realize I can't pay my bills? That's what you're supposed to do with the PPP program.
That's fair, because we're still in it. So if you can address that, and then
I can address a lot of
time.
I want to address that because of the fact that I go back to because I ever since I was 18, I believed in my credit. For some reason in my mind, I knew I had to have good credit. I had to protect my credit. And I got my first credit card was a Montgomery Rewards credit card. I remember the $1,000 credit limit on my Montgomery Rewards card. When I bought me a VCR, it was $750. That was my first gift to myself, so I can see what I can do with my credit card. And then my next card was a Sears card. And the Sears back in the day, that was like an American Express. It was just that powerful. So you got a Sears card, you had good credit right then. And then I eventually got a green card. So I established myself in all my finances really through my credit, because early on I knew I had to have credit. And so if I'm talking to a young person, I'm telling them early on, protect your credit and grow your credit. And understand that your life is tied to your credit, and your name and your brand can be tied to your credit. And so know that I have to tell you that because that, okay, this guy understood the value of his credit. And so I understood, putting $50 aside in my bank account to save money. And so when I opened my first credit card, my first comedy club, I basically pulled money from my retirement company. That's where I pulled my money from. So I've always been a guy who had a little money over here I could pull to fund my dreams. And then when I funded my dream, became successful, I put that money back. I put that money. So I always like, I didn't go out there and buy cars and suits. And even though I did do all that because I like, doing myself some good things, but I was smart enough to go put that money back. So fast forward, my life has always been tied to that. And so when I look at people but I also knew the value of understanding how to put together a business plan. And so a lot of things I didn't do in my life because the business plan told me it was not financially feasible to do, that the return on your dollar would not be what you expect. And so that saved me a lot of headache. And that's what I go back to understanding when people tell you an idea is a good idea, if they are not funding the idea with you, it's a bad idea. So I stopped doing that a lot of times because people will pat you on the back and go, I can't tell you how many times people have told me I could be a billionaire if I just walked around the corner and told people this is, somebody called me the other day, talking about they got something that can detect COVID and with a flashlight. They told me that yesterday. And I told them, who told you this? They said, well, all they need, this is real stuff, y'all. And so these are the people out there. And so that's Rushion McDonald pre-pandemic. Good credit, grab money from my savings account, protect myself, made a lot of great deals out there, managing Steve Harvey. That's me. Now Rushion McDonald during the pandemic. Oh, Lordy, different story here. The whole country shut down. My employees, they refused to come to work. So I had to acknowledge that there's a problem. That I love, see, I'm gonna tell you something about me. When you work for me, I gotta see you. I gotta touch you because I'm paying you a check. I gotta acknowledge that you are coming in the office at a certain time and you leaving the office at a certain time. That's old school Rushion. Pandemic has taught me different. I am a Zoom employer, a Zoom employer. I meet with my staff at 8 o'clock in the morning. Then I used to meet with them just 8 o'clock. Then I realized they were 8 o'clock, they do whatever they wanted to. So now I do at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I do a 4 o'clock in the afternoon meeting. That way, at least I got them 2 times in the day. It used to be 8 o'clock, I don't know what they were doing. And so now I got 2 times a day I meet with them, 8 and 4 o'clock. And then when the country shut down, they came out with this great program called the CARES program and the PPP program. I'm with Bank of America. So the very first day, I mean, as soon as they said you could register, your boy was online. Send. Everybody got money. Everybody. I mean, the Shake Shack got money. The Lakers got money. Okay, Rushion McDonald got nothing. I'm starving over here, y'all. I'm paying my employees full time. I'm struggling. Okay. Another program came through. Rushion McDonald, right there. See, I'm telling you something. When you tell me I can get some money, I show up early. I'm not one of those guys who go, I'm gonna let somebody get in front of me. No, Rushion wants to press send. Because technology is like that. You go pay for your groceries, you stick your card in there, it tell you immediately if you're broke or you need to pull it out and put another one in. They tell you right there. Okay? Nothing. The second time around, nothing. So I'm mad now, y'all. I call the bank. I said, hold up now. Y'all done messed over me on the first pass. Remember they told you, don't call the bank. Remember they told you, don't call the bank. Well, Rushion broke all protocols. I'm calling the bank. I'm calling the person who smiles at me every time I talk to him. Where is my loan? Where is my opportunity to get money? Finally, they realized my application had gotten stuck in some type of virtual PPP loop. And they had to pull it out. Well, when they pulled it out, they sent me a check that was so small, I could have left a profanity-laced conversation with them, but I refused because they record everything nowadays. So when I look at the things that are out there, I tell everybody, you can't depend on people saving you because guess what? The value of what they've considered saving you with doesn't even meet your standards. So that means that I had to cut back. I had to cut out the Netflix. I had to cut out food that I wanted to eat. I became a very skinny guy because of the fact that I had to change my diet plans. I like eating ice cream. I like going out. But the PPP told me, look here, you have to change your whole way you do budget, whole way you look at things. You don't know if it's gonna last. And by the way, when they find a vaccine, That does not mean that COVID-19 is going to go away. COVID-19 is with us and at least through our whole lifetime, just like the flu is going to come in the fall and in the spring. The flu going to come. So I tell everybody, what I learned during the pandemic is that, one, you have to make sure your employees have confidence that you can be a leader that can lead them through these dark times. You have to. And also, you cannot come to them for favors. I can't ask somebody to work 40 hours a week, but I'm paying them for 15. Okay? And secondly, you have to know the paperwork. You have to become a much more learned individual about what's going on in this economy. You cannot look at it as a Republican situation or a Democratic situation. You have to look at it as a situation that affects you and your family. So now, as I looked in, I'm making major purchases because I felt that the second quarter was a disaster. The country was shut down. The third quarter, the country is opening back up. And I'm just going to tell y'all something. The country is opening back up whether you like it or not. I know that the COVID-19 overly affects Black people and people of color. Got all that. Wear a mask, get you some hand sanitizers, go out there with some swipes. You're going to have to learn to deal with it. I learned to deal with that too. Believe me, when I go out in the streets, I'm not a comfortable person. But guess what? I can't sit at the house. I have to learn how to deal with these things. So I have to project. Now you have to project income because that's how banks look at you now because of COVID-19. They really don't care what you're making right now. They want to know what you're making in the future or what you think you're going to make in the future. That's how banks give you loans nowadays. They kind of like, in the old days, they look at what you did. They look at your past bank account. They give you some credit. And then they go, okay, you good. We'll give you a loan. Now, they look at your credit. They look at your bank, your past history, your taxes. Then they're going to ask you, okay, what does your future income look like? That's when you have to have relationships, and that's why you have to learn to forecast. And guess what? That's not a bad thing because all businesses should be built on that model of how you're going to make money and what are you going to do with that money that you make? And so that's the new system that we live in. We live in a system now where they're not going to help you when they say they're going to help you. And when you ask for a loan, they want to know what you're going to do and how you're going to make money, not today, but in the future.
Okay, there were so many gems in there, and hopefully our audience captured what really is key for you. But I want to welcome Katie Hall, who is one of our panelists who was able to join us. So Katie, hey.
Hi.
There you are. Okay. So we're going to jump you right in because we want to hear from you as well and appreciate what Janice and Rushion have been able to share. So like our panelists, Janice and Rushion, you yourself have, several different ventures that have been successful and really appreciate you being here with us today. Tell us what are some of the lessons learned along the way, with making these dreams come true for you.
Oh, that's such a great question. Thank you so much. And he was dropping so many nuggets. I was just over here writing notes.
He was.
I'm like 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. I'm like, that's so smart because you get people you do. And I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I kind of got into business untraditionally. I'm from Detroit. My parents was traditional blue collar workers, same thing with my grandparents, my grandmother, and this is very important. She completed maybe 7th grade. And then at that point, she had her first daughter at 13. And she was down in the South. And so she moved out to Michigan. So I'm from Detroit. She moved to Detroit from there. And at the age of 16, she already started enterprising. So she worked as a janitor in Detroit public school systems. And she also had all this real estate on the side. So at one point, my grandmother had like 20 homes in Detroit. And she didn't have even a middle school education. And so the fundamentals was always there. I think for me, my second oldest sister has a business as well. So I always saw things, but I went the route of going to college and I got my bachelor's degree in communications and then went into education. And I went into education primarily, are we still here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Someone was trying to share. Sorry about that.
No, nice shoes though. Size 15. My husband wears a size 15. Those are some really nice shoes. But anyway, getting back to the story, I went off to college and I had a significant moment in college when I started a nonprofit when I was in college with one of my college friends, and we were able to get, I remember 500 people registered to vote, and this was in 2004. So this was the election with Al Gore, I think, and who was it, Al Gore and George Bush?
Yeah, George Bush.
Yeah,
when he stole the election in Florida. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but not in Michigan. I think he might have won Michigan too, but not at Oakland University. You know, we were like Al Gore out. And I remember just seeing like the energy that we were able to build on a college campus. And so in the back of my mind, I said, one day I'm gonna start a business. And then from there, I had a tragedy in college. I actually was facing 30 years in prison. I worked for, you know, a bank, and I gave off some information that really I should not have given out. And it was a mistake. But that mistake helped pivot me to where I'm at now. Because if that didn't happen to me, I probably would be in news right now. Who knows? I might be in New York or either in DC doing news. That was my career of choice. But when I got in trouble, it turned like my whole entire life around. And my boyfriend at the time, now he's my husband, he joined the Air Force because he said, we need a way out of Detroit. He said, it ain't gonna work here. We gotta get out of here. And I graduated from college. I was working at Comcast, and I remember I was a top performer. And I remember I made like $100,000 in 1 year. And my probation officer, when I had to give her my pay stubs because of the nature of my felony. And I remember she said, you're making too much money. I'm about to let them know exactly what you did when you were in college. Wow. And I got fired from my job, Michigan at Will State, and I got fired. And I'm like, man, this is going to be my reality. I'm going to keep getting fired from jobs no matter how good I am. Right? And so I felt you yesterday, Janice, when you were talking about just like being shut out of certain doors. And so anyway, from there, we moved to Spokane, Washington, and we're from Detroit. So we went from 99.9% Black to 1.2% Black. And so right then and there, I was like, okay, I got to really start thinking about a business. And then I started working for a college because we didn't have the money at that point. And from there, from 2007 all the way till we opened our business in 2013, I kept notes and I would have a journal, and the business morphed. And then we finally started the business after living in New York. I had a great career at University of Phoenix. I told them about my felony. They said, we don't care. We want you. That's good. That means you can connect with all types of people. I was a top performer. I moved all around the country. And the whole time I had a journal and I was writing down my business. In 2013, I was 31, and I said, I want kids. There's no way I'm gonna have kids working in corporate. And so we started our business, and we were poor. When I quit my job, my $100,000 a year job, and started not making any money at all, we were poor, but we had a business plan because we had a lot of education. We knew how to do business plans, and we had a business plan. And before we knew it, our business continuously grew. And the last 3 years, we have had 50% growth year over year. I'm a mom. My daughter's right outside my door right now. You know what I mean? We have 2 kids, and me and my husband, we just built our business really from the ground up. And there was the first year where we were negative 40,000. And then there was the second year where we made 30,000. And then it was year 3 where we made 100,000. I'm like, oh, we can do this. And we just kept going and going. There is one other thing I want to say, is that I do think that if you are in business and if you're married, I remember there was 2 women and they said, why are you in business with your husband? That's such a bad idea. It's going to make you guys get a divorce. And one of the women was married and the other woman was not. And I was they were older than me. So I just didn't say anything. I just kind of listened to their feedback. But me and my husband, I will say this, if you are married and you do decide to start a business together, I do think the person you marry is very important to your success. Because if you don't have the person on the same wavelength as you, and I'm not pushing getting married either at the same time, because that's not something that I think you have to do as women. But I do think if you are going to do it, you do need to make sure that you guys are on the same wavelength, spiritually yoked, whatever you want to call it, because I do think that person will impact your success, because there's many times where he's my secretary. There's many times where he's the babysitter. You know what I mean? So there's just knowing who you're with, knowing your circle. I think your circle is extremely important to your success.
Well, thank you, Katie. I feel like you incorporated answering a few of the questions in that one. So a lot of gems in there too.
She had a little speech there, you know what I'm saying? Made up for lost time there, Katie. Made up for lost time there.
Thank you. Thank you. Told us, about your background, how you pivoted, lessons learned. and the importance of family and having that support. So, you know, I definitely want to make sure that we've got time for Q&A from the attendees here today. How about we just wrap with each of you sharing, you know, what is that key piece of advice, whether it's starting out or, you know, or you're in the midst of driving your own business. What is a key gem that you really want to make sure folks take away from today? Janice, why don't we start with you?
Okay, well, I think one, get started. We spent a lot of time talking about what we shoulda, coulda, woulda, when, and if, when. Two, I think you should focus on your ideas. And then three, I think you should pick the top 2 ideas that you feel are your strongest to work on, and really move forward with those ideas.
Okay, nice and succinct. I appreciate it. Don't worry, we'll have more questions for you. Rushion, what are those key points?
Okay, cool. I would say when you talk about success, and like I said, when I do calls like this, I really try to give something for somebody to say, okay, that can help me. Holding on to ideas. Being out in an entertainment business, a classic example is that there are people who hold on to the same headshot for years. They hold on to it for so long that they don't even look like the headshot anymore. And so you go in your room and go, who is this? Oh, that's me. And so that analogy passes into real life, that people tend to hold on ideas too long. It's an idea that they believe in, they're passionate about, but always know that everything is, technology changes. Remember, you know, that the iPhone started basically when Hillary Clinton launched her campaign for presidency. So that's how old the iPhone is, but it feels like it's been around 40 years because it's so much has engaged our lifestyle. And so I always tell people, don't hold on to your idea because you think that's the only idea that you have. Because a lot of people are afraid, you know, and people always do that. Hey, I want to send an NDA to you. Dude, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm not signing anything that you say is so special to you, and you're going to hold that against me because you sent me some generic idea can be applied to anything in life. And so that's what happens to a lot of people is that we sit around here with these ideas that we think are so grand. And so what happens is, like Katie kind of said something I said earlier about partners. And so partners can be a couple, or partners can be in business. And so in business, if you're in business with somebody and you giving out all the energy and that person only showing up for lunchtime, you should know that before you get in business with that person. The heck with the idea. Because I'm just going to tell you something about that, is that if that's the way the person is before you get married or before you get in business, that's how that person is going to be once you commit. And so it's important that you understand, you know, stop holding on to ideas that only you believe in. Watch the people and understand the person that you're about to get in business with, and also contribute equally in the money. If it's going to be a 50-50 partnership, make it 50-50 financial. I'm just telling you, people act differently when they commit the same amount of money than when they don't commit the same amount of money. I'm just going to tell you that. If you committing 75%, they're going to give you 25% effort, and it's 50-50. It's going to come back, it's going to bite you, and it's going to wear you down. And also, stop holding on to your accomplishments. You know, that's why I love Tom Brady. Tom Brady, once he wins a Super Bowl, he wants to win another Super Bowl. Do you know there's some people happy to win one Super Bowl? They cool, and they brag about it. You know, I won a Super Bowl, but could you have won 2? Could you have won 3? What could you have done to win 5, 6? Because that's what life should be for everybody on this call. Not a level of satisfaction that allows you to be satisfied with $100,000 in the bank. You know, Amazon out there buying stuff left and right. That man want to be so rich. You want to think like him. You want to think like Gates. You want to think about all these people with all this money. And you know, they have a mindset, and there's a selfish mindset. And a lot of people use the word selfish like it's a negative term. But I'm telling you this, you cannot be successful until you look in the mirror and say, it's about me. It's bad when you say it's so much about me that I don't care about anybody else. That's when selfishness is bad. But you have to make a commitment to yourself to say, I'm gonna get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna beat all my competitors. Okay, I'm gonna be the best that I can be. That's a selfish approach to life that everybody, whether you're athletic, you're in academia, you're in the corporate structure, they win. That's how Chick-fil-A wins, because you know why? They think they have the best chicken sandwich. And that's a selfish way of thinking, but guess what? That's the only way you can win. Katie.
Man, you sure? That was good. Once again, taking notes.
Be quiet.
And I'm just saying for the record, this is Ravens country over here, okay? So Tom Brady, yeah, he good.
Oh, boy.
So don't get me started. He got knocked out in back-to-back playoffs. Okay. I love the little black dude, but guess what? Until he won a playoff game, he needs to shut it down. Shut it down. I'm gonna ride with the little white dude up north that's now down south. Tom Brady.
I thought we were being respectful here. Let's bring this back in.
I'm not even gonna mention the
Come on, Russell. Russell Wilson country. Russell Wilson country. Come on, girl.
Oh, boy. Opened up a can of worms there. Katie,
yes.
Let's share a few more gems with our audience. Are there some key advice that folks can take away?
Earlier with this team. I would say that, but just that right there, like being able to be so willing to learn that you're taking notes, right? So like we're all on this panel together, but as I'm hearing their gems, I'm writing them down and thinking about how can I apply that if it makes sense to me?
Yeah.
Right.
There's a few things. It's very simple. My 5-year-old and my 2-year-old already have a business. They have a business where they're brokers for medical supplies. And so I think starting young, I plan to leave generational wealth because I know that if I don't leave generational wealth, my daughters are going to kind of walk the same road that I walked. So I believe engaging yourself with young people is so important. No matter how young they are, they bring energy, they keep you young. Sometimes they have fresh ideas, but also on your board of directors, having people where you want to be. So, you know, Mr. McDonald and Janice, you're going to hear from me after this call. So being able to engage with people and knowing who to engage with. Daydreaming is so important. Every night I make sure that my daughters are daydreaming. I tell them, close your eyes. What is it that you want? What do you desire? How are you going to get it? So at this age, at 5 years old, my daughter is gung-ho about a dog and a little brother. I don't know where the little brother coming from, but the dog, I said, what color is your dog? What does his hair feel like? I get her to daydream. I think we have to do that as adults more. And then of course, don't just daydream, plan your work and then work your plan. Sometimes, you know, you got to be broke for a minute. And that's just what it is. Like you said, getting up at 5 a.m. I have young kids. So in order for me to get my day started, I have to work from 5 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. My nanny doesn't start till 9. So that way I got 2.5 hours ahead of everybody else. And then from there, just, you know, really being able to make sure the people around you are the right type of people around you. Like it was a song I was listening to yesterday and the guy was like, I burn through friends the way somebody burns through something. But like truly, if the people around you aren't right, don't mean we got to be doing the same thing, but whatever your gut feel is probably right, you got to be able to cut people off and feel okay with it if they're in business, if they're friends, and hell, if they're family, if they're being detrimental to your spiritual, mental, or physical health.
Wow. So I'm sure a lot of folks were jotting down those notes as well. So one key thing that resonated for me with all of you is exactly that about when you said your board. I remember learning several years ago about your personal board of directors, you know, having someone in your financial advisor, and that's not someone necessarily who's licensed, just who is that person to go to? Who is that confidant? Who is that spiritual advisor? So, you know, I think it's key to develop your own personal board of directors. So I do want to pivot and go to our questions that have been coming in. We saw a few come in there. So let's start with, we'll go back to Janice. I saw that come in earlier. Who's your inspiration? Who inspired you?
My parents. Can you hear
okay.
me?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I appreciate that. Katie, would you like to share who inspires you?
Many people. I think it changes. Right now in this moment, it's my 2 daughters. Are you guys?
Okay.
You guys?
Yes. Yeah, no,
Oh,
thank you. So we do have a couple more questions here that have been coming into the chat. I'll share those, and then we can continue to ask folks to go ahead and continue writing in, or I don't know if Evan, if you can help to unmute them so that they can share their question too. But we do have another great one in the chat. If an individual has what they think is a good product or pitch, what is the best step to take to bring it to the marketplace?
I can answer that idea in a sense. I don't know what your idea, I don't know what the question is, because you can have a lot of good ideas. You can have a script, you can have a product you might need to get patented. It can, so I need to know what you're having right now. You know, I need more to tell you the story.
Okay.
Because right now, what you said to me is not enough information because of the fact that there's so many lanes that can go. If you have a product, have you started the patent on it? You know, if it's a script, you know, is it flushed out? Is it an NDA? What is it? So what we need to know is more information for us to answer that question properly. I won't just give you a generic. You're not going to get generic from Rushion.
Okay, so keep in mind, folks, to get more specific so that we can get you with some true, real answers here. How about we go with, I see some more coming in, but are there any books for entrepreneurs that you want to recommend? What are you reading now? What has really helped you along the way? Are there any books that folks can jot down to be ordering right after the call?
So this is a really good book. We're all in change.
I have to be right here. Can I say this right? I'm gonna just say. Is that I have a platform called moneymakingconversation.com. This is my reason I'm on the show as well. And it was created for entrepreneurs. And it is a playlist and it's broken down in categories: entertainers, stores, accountants. And I have interviews from everybody in those different classifications. In fact, it's all free. It's on YouTube under Money Making Conversations. Just go to YouTube and then put in the search engine, Money Making Conversation. And it was designed so if you want to hear something from Cedric and Entertainment, you can hear something from Cedric and Entertainment. You want to hear something from Dr. Lynn Richards in accounting and how to plan your financial success, is down in the accounting section. So it's a playlist that's designed for individuals to be able to go there and for you to win. And it's called moneymakingconversation.com. And I have authors on there, I have chefs on there, I have directors on there, producers. So I try to make sure I cover every base. So if somebody has a question, just go to moneymakingconversation.com is my website, or Money Making Conversation on your YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you for that resource. Katie, I heard you were going to share one as well.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, I think there's many. One of the ones I'm reading right now is Making Sense of Change Management, because I do a lot of crisis management, and we're living in a crisis right now. So I think that there's little tools and tips that anybody can take and apply to their life or their business.
Okay, thank you. Actually, one of the other questions too did ask about, is it a non-starter for a person-to-person business now? So I think that might be a great recommendation for folks who are wondering about that now. So thank you for that. So
one more thing, Nathalie. Actually,
yeah, of course.
My business grew by 40% through COVID just in this year. So second quarter and third quarter for me, my business grew more. And it was because of I do PR, but I was like, hey, I can do crisis management too. And it was just a quick pivot to it. So I think just you have your business, but there's other things you can do too.
Absolutely. And I think it's a key point that you share about not being afraid of recession time or difficult times in the commerce space, knowing that you may be providing exactly what folks need, that service or product that folks need to really hone in on. So success has happened in these difficult times as well. I see another great question here. At what point do you want to consider hiring an accountant, hiring a lawyer? What are some of those startup costs? I know, Rushion, you mentioned some of the things earlier. I don't know if you want to take that, or Janice.
I take that because I didn't do either when I started my business. I just had a great idea and went in and negotiated my own lease, and which was terrible. And then I opened doors without having any accounting advice about how you pay employees, and didn't have a payroll or account like a Paychecks or ADP to process my payroll. I'm in there just writing checks without taking out any FICA, and all this good stuff that you have to pay people to, and the government's expecting you to pay them, because really when you pay somebody $100, you're really paying them a little bit more than that based on the fact of what the government wants from you. And so I just always tell people, if you have an idea and it's a realistic idea, then you have to sit down with somebody who is doing a similar concept like you. they're in small business. In other words, if you're going to be a doctor, don't talk to a mechanic. If you want to go in the mechanic business, go talk to a mechanic. And so if you're going to go into small business, that's what the SBA is all about. Go to the SBA. They are there to see. A lot of people don't understand, black, white, I don't care. SBA is there to make small businesses successful because they can make money for the state. If they make money for the state, they're gonna make money for the government. So they have libraries, they have catalogs. So guess what? Captain Dummy here opened his Conning Club, right? And so I didn't know what I was doing. Then somebody told me, Rushion, why don't you go to the SBA? I walk in the SBA, they got prices on bar stools, they got prices on liquor, they got prices on glasses, they got old people sitting around who want to tell you how to be successful. They call them mentors. And so a lot of, they call them SCORE. You know, these are people who are successful entrepreneurs who just retire and just want to give you advice on how you should make the mistakes that they make. Kind of like how I'm talking right now. So it is important that you understand, if you're going to get in business, go talk to your local SBA office. It's free. They do not charge you any money before you talking about, before you even ask a question, when do you hire a lawyer or accountant, you need to go talk to somebody, because that's not a question you ask if you're trying to get in business. That's part of the planning process.
Okay, thank you. That's a very key point. I don't know how many folks may have known that or not, but absolutely, I've met with SCORE, and it's retired professionals that want to give back and want to provide that information, and they'll answer anything from soup to nuts on starting a business. So, you know, and in that light of learning from folks, I saw a question come in from Colette about education. Is it necessary to have a college education to go into entrepreneurship? You know, when should you consider going back into school or that kind of thing? Does anybody want to grab that one? I know that Katie, you had a very non-traditional one, but Janice or Rushion?
I don't think it's necessary, and it depends on what you're doing, right, with your business. I personally believe in education because of my background. My grandmother didn't complete 7th grade. My mother didn't complete 10th grade. So it's embedded in my DNA, but I don't think that you need traditional education to be successful in business.
Yeah, I've definitely heard schools of theory of thought on both sides of that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it took me 7 years to get my college degree. Okay, so it's work to get a degree. Just gonna let you know that now. 7 years now. Your boy went in and thought he was gonna be out in 3 years, additional years later, I came out in 7. So getting a degree is work too. There's no easy part of the success calendar. I'm just gonna let you know that. And so I would tell you this, that if you're good at what you do and you're willing to work hard at it, go do it with a plan, with people around you who believe in your plan, and make sure you understand it is like my man says, Katie, she's part right there. She said, success is a marathon. Katie just said that to everyone. And I'm just gonna state that to everybody. Anything you want to do in life is going to be tied to hard work. I'm just sorry. I wish I could tell you something differently. I wish I could tell you that, you know, I went to bed at 11:30, got up at 4. I told you, I'm telling you, that's the truth. I wish I could tell you I got up at 6. I get up at 6 on Monday. I get up at 7 on Wednesday. No, I get up at 4 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday, because I want to be successful. And the only way you're going to be successful, you have to have a consistent calendar of how you're approaching life and how you plan in life. Now, what do you do when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? I get up out of bed mad because I don't want to get up. Understand this, the part about being successful is that everything you're doing, you're not going to be happy. I'm just telling y'all. See, a lot of people don't understand this. See, I'm not going to paint this picture like I get up happy. I'm mad. I stagger out of bed. I make it to the sink. I put water on my eyes. I brush my teeth. I grab my phone. I stagger into the middle of my house. I sit on this giant sofa. Only a portion of it. Always a portion. In fact, I'm sitting on the side of the sofa so much that it's starting to lean. And I read the Houston Chronicle. Then I go downstairs because I'm an old person. So I have to stretch. So by stretching, it has enabled me to walk, and I still keep my swag. So I stretch, I get on a treadmill for 10 minutes. It's exactly 1/2 mile. And then all of a sudden, I'm ready. I'm ready for life because I got my body right. I got my mind right. I'm planning all the time. And here's the key thing that I did before I went to bed. I figured out what I wanted to do when I got up. See, a lot of people just go to bed and just go to bed. You can't just go to bed if you're an entrepreneur and just go to bed. You have to plan what you're going to do when you get up so you can get out of bed. And so that's why a lot of people hit snooze, because they don't have a plan. Anybody who hits snooze do not have a plan, what they're going to do that day. If that alarm clock wakes you up, it wakes you up because it is telling you it's time to get started. The plan that you talked about with us before you went to sleep, it's time to get it rolling. And if you do it so much, then you don't even have to worry about the alarm clock waking you up. Your body will wake you up.
That's a great point.
Can I just,
yeah.
Can I just interject a few things?
Yes.
Books that I'm reading, it's The Autobiography of an Entrepreneur by Janice McLean DeLoatch. Yeah, that's me. It's my book. And I'm reading it because I'm working on part 2. What did he say?
I'm gonna bring you on my Money Making Conversation show. That's what I'm gonna do, Janice. You're my girl.
And in terms of the SBA and SCORE, I think those are good resources. But one of the things that I work on is updating and lobbying old laws that are on the books that preclude women and minorities from moving ahead. And part of the reason that I do that is because SBA and SBDC and SCORE are wonderful. And by the way, it's Service Corporation of Retired Executives for people who are listening who may not understand what that means. And SBA is Small Business Administration. SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. While they do have free resources when you go into them and you sign up, my issue is what happens to people once they leave that office, and why these agencies do not follow up, and then why there are no legal resources available to help entrepreneurs and people who are walking in the door for the first time to create a business or develop an idea. So it's great that they're there, and they are a wonderful resource. But we need that component as well, because most minorities and women who walk into these centers don't have capital, don't have financing, and we are at a disadvantage in terms of legal loopholes. And I know because it's experience that I've had as an entrepreneur. Now, you also asked about education. Being an entrepreneur, do you need to have an education? I don't necessarily think that you have to have an education, and I do agree with Katie Hall that it does enhance what we're doing, but at one point I remember when I went to school for business administration, and I asked about entrepreneurship, they looked at me like I was crazy, and maybe they thought so. But now when you go to a school, if you can even get on campus right now, every college that I've seen, the last ones that I've looked at, they all offer courses now in entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So
actually, Janice, can I?
How do you teach somebody to be an entrepreneur? It is something that I think we all innately have, or we don't. And yeah, you could teach it, but you hear my passion when I talk about these things. I didn't learn this at a college or a school, and I've been to a lot of them. This is just something that is innately in me, and I think that's what all entrepreneurs have. We just have that certain special thing about us that makes all of us as entrepreneurs really good at being that entrepreneur in our own lane, because all of us are unique and different. No entrepreneur's ideas are going to be 100% exactly the same as the other one if they're original. Now, if they're copying somebody else's ideas, then yeah, they're 100% the same. So yeah, there's that.
So Janice, I want to add the qualifier there, because they did add a more detail to their question about going into 2021, still in these unpredictable times. Should a creative person focus on more of their experience or education as they consider, how to plan and move forward as an entrepreneur?
I think COVID-19, I mean, nobody really knows how to navigate COVID-19. in terms of working person to person, I mean, some of these businesses, it is hard to deal with people person to person, but then, you know, there's platforms like Zoom or the blackshoppingnetworks.com. So we're still getting our messages out and we're still connecting with people. We're just doing it on a different level. And I guess we're all learning to navigate this new experience. And in reference to, I want to throw a reference back to Janine Fondon, we're learning to navigate the new now. So, you know, we are learning by fire, so to speak, but I think experience is 100% how we will figure this thing out.
Thank you. So I know you all have been dropping in some of the gems that you're working on going forward, but we want to wrap this pretty soon. And I want to just ask one last question. Can you share some of your upcoming projects, or if you want to share where folks can really follow up with you? Clearly, everyone, hopefully you're spelling names right, and you can certainly follow them and reach out social media. But what are some of the projects that folks really need to know and walk away with knowing that it's going to be your signature on that? Rushion. Okay, you're on a timeline. Don't forget.
You know, I can talk. I can talk.
Okay, you know what?
I can squeeze y'all all the way. You might want to make me last now. I don't want to burn. Yes,
I was just about to say that. Well, Janice, why don't we start with you? What are some of your upcoming projects? I know you've got the blackshoppingnetworks.com. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
So I'm working on the blackshoppingnetworks.com, but I'm also looking to launch the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame later on this year. And Dionne Warwick has signed on to be one of the brand ambassadors for this new venture that I'm working on. And Johnny Walker, who is the National Association of Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment, along with Sylvia Rohn, we're hoping to get to be a part of this. So right now, the blackshoppingnetworks.com and the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame. And oh, and by the way, if I had been born a millionaire, then I guess I would say I'm going to campaign to be president. But since I wasn't born a millionaire, you know, we all know where I'm going with that. So I guess, you know, I could be president if I were a millionaire, but that's the things that I'm working on right now. And I hope that, you know, you guys will support, because we need our communities to support. You know, we always complain that we don't have things that are for us. The blackshoppingnetworks.com was built to support brown and black businesses and, you know, circulate the dollar in our community. So please, you know, call to action, support it. And I want to know how I can help support as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Janice. We're going to flip it over to KD and then we'll come back to you, Rushion. If you can make it brief, KD, what do folks need to know about your upcoming projects?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm going to drop one here in the little chat.
In the chat? Awesome.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun making movies. I mean, so we made a movie called The Untold Stories of Black Women in the Suffrage Movement. And we're going to have a lot of press around that with voting coming up. And I would say check out that link. We got about maybe 10,000 views, and we would like to see that up more. It's all about the Black women that were part of the suffrage movement that names were not told. We know we just walked into the 100-year anniversary of women being able to vote, but Black women were not able to vote. So we're telling the true stories. So check us out there. You can go to Katie Hall Foundation or Katie Hall Communications. Thank you.
Thank you. That's such a key story. So hopefully everybody will check that out. Let's get those numbers, those views up. And Rushion, we'll close with you on what your upcoming projects. Folks can go to your site now, so you don't have to tell them all, but what are a couple?
Well, you know, I'm purchasing a building in Atlanta amidst COVID-19 because I'm planning to open a talent management firm in September, which is going to be available to people who want to be in the entertainment business, from writers, from singers to actors and comedians. And so that's been asked of me for many years, and finally going to make that commitment to do that in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm dropping a new website, a new mission statement. I love what Janice is doing, because I did those many years when I had the neighborhood awards, supporting local Black communities, barbershops and barbecue stands and all that. So I'm pro with you, Janice, and what you're trying to do, and I'll support you 100%. I got over 800,000 Facebook followers, and I got 90,000 fan club members that I send out weekly newsletters. Give me a link and I'll support you. And I'm doing that with HBCU Awards. I'm launching that next month where I am showcasing and broadcasting the success stories of HBCU grads, as well as institutions in the community, as I'm highlighting the barbershops and beauty salons and churches and entertainers. And so my whole life is tied to uplift, and these are platforms that I want to use to uplift. But more importantly, if you want to be successful in this business, you have to be able to control your voice, and you have to understand the value of social media, and you have to be on LinkedIn. You have to set up your company on LinkedIn, and you have to update your brand as an individual on LinkedIn. So you have to do 2 accounts, one for yourself as an individual and one for yourself as your company. That must be on LinkedIn to start validating, because people are going there and you have to be up to date on it.
Oh, that was beautiful. What a perfect note to end on. Make sure all of your information is current. I'm going to throw it back to Evan to close us out, but thank you, the panelists. We really do appreciate you. Excellent job with such key gems. Thank you so much. Evan, if you want to close us. Or Camille.
Thank you so much, Nathalie, and thank you to our fantastic panelists. This has been a phenomenal discussion. I definitely learned a lot, and I hope you all did as well. I want to take this moment to invite you all to attend the Volume 3, the final part of the Future of Black Wealth series, where we'll be discussing building Black capital. So if you wanted to get into the nitty-gritty about the financings beyond, the resources available at the SBA, for example, and get to talk with some more leading professionals of color, then you'll want to be here. It's going to be Monday, August 31st at noon. And you can find out more information on our website, colormagazine.com. I want to thank you all for attending Color Conversations. We're going to have more exciting content for you in the future. So please follow us on social media to learn more about our upcoming webinars. And just so y'all can see here, here are our social media handles if you didn't see them at the beginning of the program. So this is where you can find us. Please stay in touch, make connections in the chat with our panelists here and other members of this conversation. So again, thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, definitely check out the chat. There were some comments in there. But thank you. Bye, everyone. Oh, it's great to see faces.
Do you want us to stay on, or are we free to go?
I think, yeah, everyone is good to go.
Thank you so much. It was fantastic.
Thank you all for being here.
Bye.
This was
Maybe
wonderful.
call me.
Yes.
I'll be reaching out to all of you.
Yeah.
Great job, Natalie. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic
You
job.
guys were amazing.
The panelists, so we can know, so we can get in contact with each other.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
we can sort of circulate the contact information for everybody.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Jen and our group, I want to stay in contact.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Perfect.
Because you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
all of that.
Okay.
You're great. Thank you, Natalie.
Bye,
Thank you.
Camilla.
Bye, Camila.
Bye, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you
What
for
a
bringing
treat.
us
Thank you
together.
all.
You're amazing.
Camilla, great job. I need to find the Facebook, but okay. Evan,
Yes, so our Facebook is
email it or
at Color Magazine USA.
so
I
at
can-
colormagazine.usa.
Not no dot, just Color Magazine USA.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye bye.
All right, have a good day. Thank you.